Yesterday, Sayadaw explained that by noting the presently arising object, one comes to discern the characteristics, impermanent, suffering, and non-self. As the yogi continues to practice, when his or her noting becomes strong, yogi discerns the udaya, the arising of the object, and vaya, the dissolution of the object. Arising and passing away becomes automatically obvious to the yogi by being mindful of the object. One does not have to deliberately look for the arising or passing away, but arising, passing away will automatically be obvious by noting the object. One has to note the object meticulously in order to know the true nature. One needs to note the object with aim and effort. And when one becomes skillful in the practice, one discerns cause and effect, and one also discerns the arising and passing away of the objects. When the noting mind falls on arising and passing away of the object, when the noting mind falls on the manner of impermanence, one comes to discern the characteristic of impermanence. When the noting mind falls on the manner of suffering, one comes to know suffering. When the noting mind falls on non-self, yogi comes to know non-self. One does not have to deliberately contemplate as impermanent, suffering, and non-self, but these characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self will become obvious to the yogi automatically by noting the presently arising object. One does not have to contemplate anicca, dukkha, or anatta. It will be mere recitation. So when one is reciting and contemplating anicca, dukkha, anatta, one is far from discerning these characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self. There will not be citta visuddhi, purification of the mind, as the person lets practice. When citta visuddhi, purification of the mind, does not develop, there will not be Dhamma Vavatthana, discerning distinctly between mind and matter, and thus Nama Rupa Pariccheda Jnana will not develop. And also, one does not discern cause and effect. So Paccaya Vavatthana Jnana will not develop, lacking practice. So it is impossible to be contemplating the three characteristics without any practice. One should be noting the presently arising object in order to know the true nature, unique individual characteristics, cause and effect. And as the person continues to note continuously, yogi discerns that these objects are in complete flux. The object arises at one moment and passes away at another. So in this way, yogi discerns impermanence. So the object does not dissolve because of the noting, it passes away in its own accord. As the yogi becomes skillful in the practice, the arising and passing away become obvious to the yogi. Sayadaw gives an example when one works and when one is skillful in one's work, one feels happy, joy, satisfaction, comfort, one feels light. In the same way, when the yogi also becomes skillful in the practice, yogi becomes happy, joyous, satisfied, comfortable, and the yogi's mind also becomes light. When this happens, the illumination can arise. So it is called Citta Paccaya Uddusamutthana. The illumination has the Citta and Uddu as the cause. When one has morality and when one practices Satipatthana meditation, when the yogi reaches this Uddiyabhaya Jnana, yogi experiences illumination. If the yogi does not have general knowledge, the yogi has misperception that the illumination is supramundane knowledge. So when the yogi has mistaken illumination for supramundane knowledge, from the time the yogi has misperception that the illumination is supramundane knowledge, yogi's concentration will not develop. There will be uddhacca, restlessness, the mind being distant from the object that is to be noted. So in this way, as soon as the yogi has misperception that the illumination is the supramundane knowledge, there will be uddhacca, restlessness. Uddhacca, restlessness will overcome the yogi. Before having misperception, yogi is discerning anicca lakkhana, but as the yogi misunderstands illumination as supramundane knowledge, yogi will no longer be discerning anicca lakkhana. Before the yogi has misperception, yogi is discerning dukkha lakkhana, but as the yogi misunderstands illumination as supramundane knowledge, dukkha lakkhana will not be obvious to the yogi anymore. And also anatta lakkhana will not be obvious to the yogi anymore. So it is a disturbance to the yogi's practice. Illumination itself is not the imperfection of insight, but the misperception that the illumination is supramundane knowledge is hindering his or her practice. Instead of knowledge, wrong perception arises, and this wrong perception is the hindrance to his or her practice. When one gets nutriment, the physical body becomes fresh and strong. It is called aharaja rupa. the nutriment-made materiality. Nutriment-made materiality becomes amazingly fresh, strong and alert, getting the nutriments. So the materiality becomes Paṇḍitā, good, fresh materiality, having the nutriments. And the materiality becomes serene, clear and beautiful. In the same way, there are spiritual nutriments that need to be nourishing the mind. Saddha, faith and confidence. Jhana, Viriya, effort. Sati, mindfulness. Samadhi, concentration. They are spiritual nutriments. And also Samma Sankappa, right application, aiming one's noting mind towards the object, and right knowledge, Samadhi, are also spiritual nutriments. Having these spiritual strength, Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Samma Sankappa and Samadhi, the mind becomes amazingly fresh, strong, healthy and happy. Having the spiritual strength in the mind becomes healthy, fresh, alert and strong. The materiality in the body, Vana, Gandha, Rasa, Oja, Paṭivi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, these materialities will also become fresh, alert to the pure, clean mind. Due to the Vipassana Citta, the materiality in the body also becomes fresh, alert, bright, shining. It is called Vipassano Bhasa, and it is from one's true experience. It is not imaginary. When this happens, yogi thinks that these experiences has not occurred in him or her before, so yogi has mistaken it for Maggaphala, path and fruition knowledge. So yogi has mistaken this experience as Maggaphala, path and fruition knowledge. So in this way, yogi has mistaken non-path as path. Yogi has mistaken amagga as magga, non-path as path, and yogi has mistaken aphala as phala, non-fruition as fruition. As the yogi has this misperception, thinking his or her experiences as magga and phala, his or her vipassana path is deviated. So she is said to be deviated from the vipassana path, as she has misperception that his or her experiences are magga phala. So in this way, becoming attached to these experiences, yogi leads the practice being attached in these good experiences. This attachment to the good experiences has become dhammantaraya, danger to one's practice, and thus the attachment on these good experiences has become Vipassanupakilesa, imperfection of insight. Illumination can arise due to practice, and illumination is good. So by practicing, one can experience illumination. Yogi who does not have general knowledge will hold high esteem of illumination as Magga and Phala. Experiencing illumination, one has not attained Magga Phala yet, but the yogi may mistaken it as Magga Phala. Having this wrong perception that illumination is Magga Phala, one will be deviated from developing knowledge. And also there will be Paṇḍitā, negligence, failure to be mindful. As there is Paṇḍitā, lack of mindfulness, the mind is deviated from the right path, and one is said to be deviated from the Vipassana path. And thus, Vipallasa, perversion, can arise. The three kinds of perversion, Sanya Vipallasa, perversion of perception, Citta Vipallasa, perversion of one's mind, and Ditthi Vipallasa, perversion of view, can arise. When one has these perversions, one will be deviated from the right path. Having perversion of perception, the mind will also be perverted. One will not know the truth. One will not develop knowledge. And also, the person will have perversion of view. The person cling on to it that his or her view is correct, and thus the person will not go any further in the practice, and it can also happen that the person does not continue to practice his or her whole life. In this way, one should be mindful. One should not hold high esteem of illumination. One should note it with diligent effort. When there is lack of mindfulness, kilesa defilements will enter the mind. Having mindfulness, the defilements cannot enter. The mind will be guarded, protected away from the defilements, having mindfulness. If there is lack of mindfulness, one will be having these defilements, holding high esteem of illumination. There will be lack of mindfulness, not knowing the truth, and thus the person is deviated from the right path. Not fulfilling things that should be fulfilled, there will be deficiency. One should not hold high esteem of illumination. One should continuously note the presently arising object. One should develop knowledge, discerning fast arising and passing away of the object. As the person has misperception, the person no longer be mindful, the person will no longer be developing knowledge into facts arising and passing away. So there will be deficiency, the person is deviated away from the right path, having misperception that the good practice is magga phala. In this way, the person holds on to it that she has attained the magga phala, and nobody can talk him or her out of it. And there will be detti vipallasa, perversion of view. So as there is perversion, all these will come in. In order to avoid it, whatever that arises, yogi should be mindful of the presently arising object. Whether the object is good or bad, yogi should be mindful of it. Yogi should keep on noting as instructed by the teacher. As the yogi continues to practice, one will not be having these perversions, and thus the person will be on the right path. When the yogi holds high esteem of such good experiences, such as illumination and so on, the person will no longer note on the object, and thus the person gives up the practice. The person becomes attached with the illumination, thinking it as good, and does not craving arises on the illumination. And the three kinds of vipallasa, perversion, also arise in the person, and the person fails to note the presently arising object. Only if the yogi continues to note the presently arising object, knowledge into facts arising and passing away, uddiyabaya jnana, will develop in momentum. Failing to note the object, the person will no longer discern arising and passing away. Not discerning arising and passing away, mana, conceit, can arise. Discerning arising and passing away, conceit cannot arise. But as the yogi does not note the object, yogi will not discern arising and passing away, and thus mana, conceit, arises, such as I am experiencing illumination and so on. Not being mindful, yogi does not discern suffering, and thus yogi will take it as good, pleasant. Yogi will be attached in it. In this way, there will be perversion of perception, perversion of his or her mind, and perversion of view. And there will be ditti, wrong view. So it is very frightening to have such perversion. One should have paccakasita, one should accomplish by one's direct experiential knowledge. But when one has misperception that the good practice is magga phala, then it creates a big problem to his or her practice. He, she will not be practicing further in order to attain magga phala. So in this way, these perversion is a big threat to one's practice. There will be uncertainty and the person drops the practice. The person will not practice anymore in his or her life, and thus it is a great loss in life. Even though one may have knowledge, even though one has learned the scriptures, but when the person reaches the stage of practice, even though the perversions do not arise, but one may still be attached with good experiences. When one becomes attached with these good experiences, one should be mindful of it and one should dispel such attachment. There are three kinds of siddha, three kinds of attainment. Paccaka siddha, accomplishment by direct experiential knowledge. Anumada siddha is based on the accomplishment through direct experience. One deduces on things that one had not known by direct experiential knowledge. So based on what one had learned, one comes to deduction, inference on other things. Anumana siddha is accomplishment by inference. Okappana siddha is accomplishment by faith and confidence. There are things that are beyond one's knowledge. Based on probability and based on faith and confidence in the Buddha, one can have this accomplishment through faith and confidence. Having these three kinds of siddha accomplishment, one will be on the right path. Even though one may have difficulties, but one can easily overcome such difficulties. Anumana means inference. Based on the effect, one can deduce and infer on the cause. Seeing the cause, one can come to deduction on the effect. For example, seeing smoke from somewhere, one can deduct that there is fire. So seeing the smoke, one can have inference that there is fire in some place. And the other way, seeing the cause, one can also have inference on the effect. Good deeds by body, speech and mind that are cultured, gentle, it will not be useless to have these good actions by body, speech and mind. Such good deeds by body, speech and mind will bring good results. And bad deeds by body, speech and mind bring bad results. In this way, based on good and bad deeds, one has inference that these good and bad deeds will bring good results and bad results. Among the 10 Vipassanupakilesa, jnana is one of them. Developing Vipassana jnana, insight knowledge, one discerns fast arising and passing away. At this stage of practice, the objects are arising as if they are ready to be noted as if they are saying, note me, and so on. In this way, yogi does not miss to note the object. His or her knowledge becomes bright, clear-cut, and precise. When knowledge becomes bright, clear-cut, and precise, yogi may mistaken it as supermundane knowledge, just as one may have misperception that illumination is part of vision knowledge. At the stage of Uddiyavaya Jnana, the 5 kinds of piti, joy, can arise. At times, the joy may arise like lightning. It is khanika piti, momentary joy. At times, yogi experiences minor piti, experiencing goose flesh, and there can be khanika samadhi, khanika piti, momentary joy, experiencing piti as lightning. Organika piti is experienced as something being draped down on the body, and Upeka piti being experienced as the body being levitated feeling. Prana piti can be experienced that the yogi does not even want to open the eyes, as the piti is pervading. At this stage, usually yogis experience Upeka piti, uplifting joy, prana piti, pervading joy, and the yogi feels very comfortable, as if like the body is lifted up, levitating, and the yogi may mistaken it as the supermundane knowledge. So having this misperception, there can be the perversion of perception, perversion of the mind, and perversion of view. Passaddhi arises where the yogi becomes tranquil, both in the mind and the body, connected with the practice. Kaya here can be taken as not only the cetasika, but also the rupa. Both the mind and the body feels very tranquil, day and night. There will be no remorse, regret, but one feels light, malleable, and also adaptable. The person has adaptability in the practice. There will be comfort in both in the mind and the body. One will not be exhausted, or one will not feel sick, but one feels fresh, adaptable, comfortable, light, and so on. Even though one first determined to sit for 1 hour, it may turn out to be a 2-hour sit. Yogi can sit comfortably for 2 hours. Even though yogi may think that I'm going to do walking meditation for 1 hour, but it may turn out to be more than 1 hour walking meditation, as the yogi does not even realize that the time passed so quick. So in this way, yogi knows clearly, in a clear-cut way, precisely, yogi feels fresh, comfortable, and at this stage, honesty becomes very prevalent. Even if the yogi may have done some kind of wrongdoing before in his or her life, at this stage of practice, yogi confesses of his or her wrongdoing, and the yogi shows his or her honesty, straightforwardness, and so on. So at this stage, piti is the best, and Sayadaw will say what Buddha had mentioned about piti. At the stage of Udiyataya Jnana, yogi becomes courageous, and yogi has the courage to confess his or her wrongdoings. At this stage, yogi shows honesty and straightforwardness. At this stage, sukha also becomes strong. The whole body is said to be abhisandamana. One feels coolness oozing inside the whole body, feeling very good. Coolness oozing inside the body, just like a stream of water. Just like having to enter the air-conditioned room, in the same way, one feels cooling, oozing feeling, and it is sukha. Having piti, one feels springy feeling. Having sukha, one feels cooling, oozing feeling. Adhimokha, resolution, firm resolution. Connecting with Vipassana, one's faith and confidence become very strong, and one has strong faith and confidence in the practice, coming to a resolution that this path of practice is correct, and one feels serene and clear. The mind being serene and clear is due to adhimokha, resolution, faith. Pakaha is the effort, assertion of effort. As the yogi practices with 3 stages of effort, Arambha Dhatu and Nikama Dhatu, Prakama Dhatu, yogi gains pakaha, assertion, at the stage of Udiyataya Jnana. And at this stage, viriya, effort, gains momentum. There is no laziness, no sluggishness. The person does not become slack, but effort becomes courageous. And Sayadaw adds that pakaha viriya is not deteriorating, not stagnating in the middle, but the viriya increases and uplifts, just like when a person lifts up something, one has to lift up so that that object is lifted up, not stagnating, not being lowered. In the same way, pakaha viriya does not deteriorate, it does not stagnate, but it increases up and up. And supagahita, meaning one has this uplifting effort. At this stage, the objects are noted like automatically, and upatthana, the mindfulness, become firmly established on the object. As the yogi knows the object with aim and effort, the mindfulness is firmly established on the object. As the yogi becomes skillful in the practice, the mindfulness is steadfastly, firmly on the object, and the yogi does not miss to note the object. At this stage of practice, memories of the childhood times can surface. So the memories can arise just like having to see a movie of one's childhood times and so on. And Sayadaw explains, about 30 years ago, Sayadaw was interviewing a 9-year-old novice. When this 9-year-old novice developed this stage of practice, Uddiyabaya Jnana, the novice could tell very clearly how he was conceived in the mother's womb, from the time the sperm and the ovum come into contact, how he was conceived. So the novice could tell very clearly how he was in the mother's womb, the different stages of development of the fetus. He could even tell very clearly, very eloquently, doing better than someone who has even learned the Abhidhamma. So in this way, at this stage of Uddiyabaya Jnana, one has these, the memories can surface in the mind. Whatever the yogi mind is inclined onto, the yogi can recall the memories that she cannot remember in ordinary life. So it is said that just as Deva Chakku becomes very clear, in the same way, at this stage of practice, yogi become very clear of the past experiences, and these past experiences surface and pop up in the mind at this stage of Uddiyabaya Jnana. Upekkha, the equanimity, becomes strong, and the objects are automatically noted with ease and comfort. So among these 10 Vipassanupakilesa, the first 9 are good experiences. They are not unwholesome. The last one, Nikkandi, is the minor attachment based on the other 9 good experiences. Nikkandi is very subtle, that one may not know it as tanha, craving. One may only think of it as having delight in the practice. So Nikkandi is very subtle. It is a subtle kind of craving based on the other 9 good experiences. Even though a person who has good general knowledge does not take non-Pháp as Pháp, but still the person can have Nikkandi, very subtle craving, on his or her good experiences. If the yogi is not mindful, yogi will not develop further, as she is being attached in his or her good experiences. Among these 10, the first 9 are wholesome, they are good experiences. But the 10th one, Nikandi, is craving, and it is unwholesome, and one becomes attached in the good experiences. One can make mistake that this is the path of vision knowledge. So among these 10, the 10th one is called upakilesa because it is tanha, craving. The other 9 is called upakilesa because they can be the cause for tanha to arise if the yogi has attached in these good experiences. And tomorrow Sayadaw will explain how piti is important. And this will be all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.